They say the truth will set us free, but not until we identify the lies that hold us hostage. I'm Amy, your host for The Story in My Head, a raw, meandering, unscripted sharing of my thoughts or those of my guests, where we identify the stories, the messages that we tell ourselves that create these lies that we believe, that trap us in darkness and depression, anxiety, fear, negative thinking, self-sabotage, addiction, etc. This is my experiment of trying to rewrite the stories in my head, and I ask you to join me. I'm running a bit of an experiment, just simply paying attention to the way I speak to myself and these trains of thought. I'm just kind of just trying to observe and watch and pay attention to where my different trains of thought lead me, and they all seem to lead me into this dark space of anxiety, fear, depression, sadness, messages like I'm a failure, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not capable, I am not deserving, I am not attractive, I am, just all these messages. And every story seems to lead to these same messages. And because I'm watching this and trying to pay attention to this from this dark place, I'm having a really hard time being objective. So I'm spending a lot of energy trying to just be objective and to sit here and just honestly say, it's like I have created all these trains of thought that all kind of go to the same dark place. And I can start out with a very benign, very, very simple, just something simple and pleasant, something pleasant, a pleasant thought, and end up on this train, this just barreling down the track to this dark space. And it's shocking how quickly I can go from this light pleasantry in my head to this dark space where I am shaming and insulting myself. It's insane how fast that is. It's shocking, which leads me to believe I'm well versed in it. I am good at it. I've done it a lot. I am good at it because I've practiced it a lot. I've done it a lot. And this dark space is so big to me right now and so overwhelming to me that I can hear things out in the world that are equally just benign and pleasant. And sometimes, most of the time, has nothing to do with me. And yet I snatch it up, drag it into my dark space, throw it on my train, like adding train tracks. And, jump on this locomotive barreling down into darkness. So now I have taken something that is out in the world that is pleasant. I have personalized it. I've twisted it around to fit into my story somehow, and which is creative in itself, I guess. And then I stick it in this story, oftentimes in such a manner that whatever I've just heard in the world is evidence to my story being real and correct, right? That I am a failure, I am not worthy, I am not attractive, etc., and so forth. And sitting here in my PJs with my fuzzy socks on, trying to figure out how to claw out of a dark space, I just am committed to just paying attention, and I'm learning a lot about how I've gotten here. I tell dark stories. I tell sad, depressing, scary stories. And now I feel sad, depressed, and scared. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Ugh. So now I'm sitting here wondering which ones of my stories are right, which ones are wrong. Two very powerful words, like good and bad, right and wrong. I think those 4 words are gravely misused and overused. I'm sitting here remembering when I would ask my son something about how they were doing, and they said good, I would always be like, please do not describe yourself like a piece of fruit, like the way you describe food. I'd like a different word, please, one that's more applicable to how you're doing. And yet I'm on the couch in my dark space, not at all taking that advice, practicing that preaching. I am instead thinking about right versus wrong and recognizing how often I think in those terms, good, bad, right, wrong. And wondering how many of the stories that I have told myself for quite some time that lead to this dark space, the story's wrong. It's just wrong. Ugh. And I don't like being wrong. I don't know many people that do. You don't like being wrong. We don't like all what happens after we're wrong. We don't like what happens leading up and feeling like we've been caught like we're wrong. And I am immediately reminded, I'm driving my car. My youngest son was in the passenger seat, and he was at the time, I don't know, 14 or 15, stood 6 feet tall, big dude, but with this round face, this innocent baby face. So he looked actually younger than he was at the time. And I'm at a red light, and I am hysterical. I am yelling, I'm cussing, I'm banging my hands on the dashboard. And then I just really aggressively stick my middle finger up right in my son's face, like in his face. And as I'm turning with my middle finger up, and I am aggressively sticking it in his face and saying, "Look at it, look at this." I realize that the woman in the car beside me, also at the same red light, of course, is stopped and is just staring at me. She had her windows down. I had mine cracked. She could probably hear my yelping and screaming and carrying on. I know she witnessed me flipping my son off because I watched her watch me. The look on her face described, the only way I can really describe it is as a woman that's watching another woman verbally abuse her child. And I immediately felt caught. I immediately felt wrong. I immediately felt like, oh, shit. And then I was like, wait, I need to tell her, I need to explain myself. And the light turned green and she drove off. And I was like, damn, I have just given her a story. She has a story in her head and it is wrong. I don't know what the story is, but based on her facial expressions, I'd bet a lot of money it's wrong. Because at my red light in my car, my experience, I look up and on my dash is a wolf spider, and I'm allergic to wolf spiders, and they kind of jump, I don't know what exactly they do, but I know they're quick, and I'm banging all over my dash, like ferociously hitting my dash, trying to kill this wolf spider. And when I do, I hit my dash in such a way that the fingernail on my middle finger, I was wearing artificial fake fingernails at the time, the fingernail came off. And that thing was glued to my natural nail, which also came off of my finger in its entirety. And I went from angry, cussing, basically trying to kill this wolf spider, to squawking out in pretty intense pain and turning and showing my son the loss of the fingernail on my middle finger. So it was the only finger up, highlighting the injury in his face, going, "Oh my God, look at this." That's the story that was happening in my car. Very different than I would suspect the story in this woman's head that just witnessed it. So I know for a fact I've watched other people be wrong in their stories, which means I, as a people, a part of the people, have been wrong in my story. So maybe all these trains, these stories, these thoughts, these trains of thought that I have that lead to this dark space, which strangely all of the tracks ebb and flow and go different directions, but eventually end up in this dark space, which is just, that to me means that there's at least some of them wrong, right? Right? Don't you think? I can't be telling all of these stories and they all be right. So there's a part of my head that knows that some of my stories are wrong. And I don't like to be wrong. But in this second, I'm like, maybe being wrong's not so bad. I can think of a time right now that I was very, very wrong. It was Christmas, and I used to like things much more particular and perfect than I do now. Thankfully, I'm starting to relax and let some of that go. But at the time, I was really, really into it. And I liked my Christmas presents wrapped so that whatever picture was on the paper, kind of lined up, the stripes lined up, and the bows matched the paper, and the tree matched the gifts, and it all coordinated, blah, blah. It was madness, okay? I was all into it, just pure madness. And for whatever reason, this particular year, I could not wrap these presents the way I was getting ready to say the way I liked to wrap them. And it was more than that. It was like, that's what was right. That was what was right. My grandmother wrapped presents like a professional. And so therefore my mom wrapped presents like a professional because that was then the story in her head. And then now I wrap presents because in my head, this is the right way to do it. It's right. Oh my gracious. That day, I didn't have the time to wrap these presents, so I asked Spouse to wrap the presents. And I really thought when I left that I had made it very clear what my expectations were. I want the presents wrapped like a professional. Things to line up, things to coordinate, and please don't, leave tape and scissors and a mess everywhere. Don't forget the stickers to identify who these things go to. And, if you could maybe have all this done before I come home, that'd be awesome, because part of this train of thought at the time was the presents need to be wrapped like a professional to perfection, basically. That was the expectation. Do it quickly, do it cleanly, and do it, in my way, in my timing, because that's what's right. That's my story. That's what's right. And for whatever reason, by the grace of God, the man agreed to take on the task. Like, he agreed. God bless him. Because the expectations I had were through the roof. I don't know what kind of human I thought was out there that could meet them. That's where I was. I left. I come back home. I had doubt that the man was going to meet the expectation, which of course sets me up for this story, sets him up. It sets him up for me walking in the door thinking, I bet he didn't get it right. Like, now he's already set up because now I've already had this attitude because I've jumped on this train that he's probably not going to do it right. But I walk in and I find Spouse and two sons standing in front of the Christmas tree looking proud, giddy almost, like getting ready to present something to me. And as they move to the side to present the work, these presents, go, oh my God. Oh my God. They had wrapped every single present in aluminum foil. Aluminum foil. There was no bows. There was no, I didn't see any, I'm almost speechless, thinking about it now. And it takes an act of God to make me speechless. I was shocked. I was angry and disappointed because I had unmet expectations, right? So of course I'm angry and disappointed. And before I could even start, thank God, before I could start to express this crazy anger and disappointment that was very real because of my crazy expectations, Spouse goes, look, isn't this awesome? You don't even have to use tape or anything. Like, yeah, we had to go to the store to get more foil, but Amy, you don't need to worry about stripes lining up. You don't need to worry about bows. You don't need to worry about anything. You just scrunch it on there. And if there's a present that's oddly shaped, you just scrunch it on there. Isn't it perfect? And as he's saying this, and I'm reeling and trying to process, and like I'm all over the place because my train has come off my track, he turns the lights onto the Christmas tree. And the lights start to sparkle and reflect off of this aluminum foil, and it's glistening all over the room. And my nerd-ass self is like, oh my God, it's like Christmas in space. And I was super giddy, and it was so exciting and beautiful and better than anything I had done prior. Not only was my way not right, okay, it felt right for me. Not only was it really not right, it wasn't the only way. And not only was it not the only way, come to find out it wasn't the best way. So my grandmother did her thing, which was right for her. And my mother adopted it, which was right for her. And then I adopted it, which for a time was right for me. Now, thank God, my children wrap presents in aluminum foil, and it's beautiful. Because I was wrong in what I thought was right. That wasn't bad. So being wrong isn't always bad. So maybe I'll run an experiment, let's go a week. Can you go a week? You and I go a week without using the 4 words, or even make it 2, or just pick one, right, wrong, good, bad. Like, let's delete them from our thinking, from our vocabulary with self and others, and just see what happens. because I'm thinking for so long being wrong is bad. Well, it's not always bad. So I need to quit attaching those two. And right and wrong, good and bad, like that. I have self-esteem, I have esteem things that attaches to that. And like they get heavy and kind of convoluted. And I just maybe should take them out. And I challenge you, take them out. Let's see what happens. I don't know. Now I'm thinking about, the stories in my head. How many of these things are wrong? Well, probably a lot, the majority, maybe all of them, right? Like maybe all of them. Sometimes the information I gather is wrong. Like the way I perceive the world is wrong. Like the woman at the red light was wrong in the way she perceived my experience. But sometimes I think I'm wrong in my perspective, the perspective I have of the experience. Just the other day, a friend of mine comes over. He's 70 and he's lovely. And he's very animated and funny, and 99.9% of the time, a happy, joyful creature. Yet every time I see him, within the first 3 to 5 minutes of our meeting, he tells me about a Subaru that he was behind in his travels to get to me, and they were driving too slow and slowing him down and creating angst and frustration, irritation. Now, to be fair, I live in the Appalachian Mountains. Just based on terrain alone, it's just not uncommon to be close to a Subaru or behind a Subaru or can see one at a red light. There's just a lot of them where I live. And so he's going to get behind a Subaru every time he comes to see me. And I'm thinking to myself, why does he let this get him so twisted up? Because it's so outside of his character, really. And I just said to him the other day, I was like, you know what, dude? I was driving down a country road and I was late, of course, and lost, of course, and probably low on gas. And all of a sudden, like y'all, out of nowhere, a cow, literally in the middle, I didn't realize cows were this big until this day. They're big, and it was right there, straddling the double yellow line on this 2-lane countrified road and totally in the way. Like there was pasture fencing on each side. There's not really a ditch or a shoulder to speak of. I couldn't get around the cow. I was honking. I was yelling at it. It made zero motion towards me. It did not acknowledge my presence in any way, shape, or form. I was so pissed. It was such an irritant. It was an obstacle between where I was and where I was going. And I hated it. I hated it for being this obstacle, my obstacle. And finally, for whatever reason, after what seems like an incredible period of time, it just walked off. I don't know where the hell it came from. I don't know where it went, because on either side of this road for miles, flat land, because it's on the coast, flat land, basically farm land, just flat and green. And you can see everything. I couldn't see a nary other cow. So as I'm speeding away, bitching about this cow, this obstacle in my life, I round a corner, and out of nowhere is this glorious double rainbow. First one I'd ever seen in my life, like just from one end of the earth to the other, because I had a full big sky, like 180-degree sky. And I started weeping immediately, not thinking about this rainbow. Well, yes, I was, but in gratitude for that fucking cow. Because it had not been for that cow stopping me, I wouldn't have been in this space at this exact time to see this amazing, like truly amazing double rainbow. And I shared this with my friend. I was like, dude, maybe these Subarus are keeping you from getting in a head-on collision. Have you ever thought about that? Maybe these Subarus are your cows. If I change my perspective, I can change the entire narrative of my story. You have Subarus and cows. How do you view your Subarus and cows? What is your perspective? How do you take in? Do you pay attention to how you take in the world? Do you pay attention to your perspective? Because perspective is everything, or it certainly can be. And I, am telling all these stories that make my life this dark, dreary, dreadful, sad, isolated, scary place. I'm telling all these scary stories. I don't want to be in this space. I don't want to keep telling myself these stories. Maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. Being wrong is not bad. Let me pay attention to my perception of things. Why is it scary to me to pay attention and to be open to changing my perception? Oh, because it means I have to be open to being wrong. That's why this is scary. There's freedom in this. There's freedom in allowing myself to be wrong. There's freedom in allowing myself to be wrong. I'd like to disable the tracks that carry these trains of thought, these stories in my head to dark places, because I follow my stories. My ass follows my head. This is the story in my head today.